Hello. Hello, lovely ladies. You guys come on in. I am just playing around with the lighting a little bit to see if we can get it a little bit better there. There we go. Hello. Happy Friday. We are here today. I told you guys that I was going to do my best to reserve my Fridays for lunch, just for girl chat. Okay, just for girl chat. I like to get together and just do this in real life with my girlfriends. And so I felt like it would be just really amazing. Say hello when you come in so I could see who's here. I just felt like it would be really amazing to kind of bring that same vibe across social media at least once a week with my ladies to gather you guys. I am here today. Bring your hey, Rosalind. Hello. Let me know also in the chat if you have your glass of water. I didn't do it in a fancy glass today. I just brought my water regularly. But when I do my girl time, either at my house, I'm at my house now, I'm inviting you guys into my home, or when we're at my friends' houses, we'll always have a good cup of coffee. So I tried to make my little fancy coffee. I shared with you guys the ingredients that I put in my coffee on Instagram. And I'm using a cup from my goddaughter. She had a school fundraiser, like I think it was last year, and so this was one of the options. And I got this cute little mug during her school fundraiser that has my name written on it. So I thought I'd just use Kaylin's mug that I got. So we're going to get started today. We have a very good topic. I really wanted to create an abundant topic today to talk about. Last week, if you saw my video, I share it with you guys a little bit about my story, about what it means to be like the ultimate high value woman, right? And so today I kind of wanted to build on that, and I wanted to talk about like what makes a woman pretty much tantalizing and irresistible, right? And I wanted you guys to kind of think about that, like for a moment, when you think about a woman who is irresistible, and I want you to put it in the chat. Um, what comes to mind? What comes to your mind when you think about that woman who just excites all of your senses, all of your pleasures? Who is she? Like, what makes her ultimately inspiring and attractive and rich? What about this woman draws you? And I want you guys to put that in the chat and kind of have that in mind during our discussion today, because I know for me, one of the things that I realized some years ago is that I have a lot of inspiring women around me, for different reasons, of course, in my life. But I also have women who have inspired me to elevate who are not necessarily physically in my life, right? And those women have had such a great impact on me getting to my next levels in life. And so I remember a season in my life where I was like, you know what? I am literally becoming the woman of my dreams, right? I am becoming her. I am becoming her. And even now, as I don't know if you guys saw all of the social media posts this week. I hope you did. Like, comment, let me know what resonates with you so that my team can take it back and they can actually produce the stuff that resonates with you the most, if questions resonate with you. But I remember like going through seasons in life, for me more specifically, my season in life that took my like a lot of my femininity and a lot of that irresistible like flavor away from me was my law school season. And we're going to talk about that in a bit, like how different things in life can remove you off of that path and take away that confidence that you may have in becoming an irresistible woman. So let me see what we're saying. Being charismatic, being fun, loving, being confident, absolutely. That absolutely, right? I think that the women that we're drawn to the most, I know for me, and if you guys have any in mind, go ahead and put it down. But I am such a fan of Marjorie Harvey. Steve Harvey's wife, she has her feminine embodiment. It is so elevated and it's so mature, right? She is one of the women that I look up to from a distance, actually, because I feel like she shows us how to age with grace. A lot of you follow Mina. Mina is definitely another individual, which Mina only a few years older than me. So I look at Mina like she's a big sister. But you want those big sisters, those mothers, those individuals that really pull out of you that feminine essence. So, yes. Um, Another question I often ask around this topic, like what makes a woman tantalizing, is who are her friends, right? So meaning I have friends from all different seasons of my life, right? So some of my friends have not necessarily invested in their financial life in the way that my husband and I have. So they may not necessarily have as much money, but we have been friends around, like we love to do the same things, like we love to have fun together. Or I have friends that are really into like fragrances and traveling, and so we tend to connect on those issues. But I like to know, like, who are her friends. I'm really in a stage now, because I've invested so much in my inner work, and you guys let me know if that's true for you too, that I really like want those friends who are also emotionally evolving, if that makes sense. Like, tell me if I'm by myself with that. You know how you can get with a group of girls and you kind of feel more drained when you leave their presence than you do refreshed and renewed. And it may be little things, they may still be in a stage where they're complaining hard, or they may be in a stage whereby they just haven't invested in their inner work. Maybe they need therapy around certain areas, but I'm really in a stage where when you're showing up for stuff like this, you literally are like, hey, I want to heal. I'm healing a lot of my feminine wounds so that I can show up as this very tantalizing and irresistible woman. So we're going to get into that today. And I'm going to share some of my goodies with you guys. I'm going to share with you some of the things that I'm really loving right now in my life, as far as like my different, products, makeup, and stuff like that. I typically don't do a lot of that, but you guys know that I love beauty and I love fashion. And so I was like, that'll be fun. Like, this is girl time. We don't have to always talk about the inner work, which we will weave it into. But one thing about an irresistible woman is I think she is extremely like careful with her appearance. Like, she shows up exactly how she means to show up, right? And so one of the things that I'm loving right now is my Huda Beauty nude palette. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's by Huda Beauty. And I bought this palette like literally a few years ago. I have an Amazon store and I'm gonna have to link it. I don't know if the nude palette is still out or not. So I'm gonna have to check that and link it and see if any of you guys are interested in that. But I'll go through some more of those products as we're continuing to do today's live, right? So this woman, okay, what one of the things that I asked you guys shared some of the things that came up for you, but one of the things that an irresistible and tantalizing woman has in my life, I put it down, is that she has time. She has time. This is a woman who is not, there may be moments where you gotta put your energy to something and get it done. But for the most part, this woman is living her life whereby her time belongs to her. And as I have been becoming the woman of my dreams, I'm literally the woman that I dreamed of in my past life, right? So 6 years ago, I think I was in my late 20s, about 6, 7 years ago. I was in my late 20s, and I remember forecasting and dreaming about the woman that I am today. Right? I told myself that I would travel the world, which I've done. I did that from about 2012 through when we sat down in 2020, and I'm back in the world now. We back in the streets. So I've already done my first. I think we did Mexico, Bermuda, and a few others. So I've already started back internationally traveling. But I remember literally being like, I wanted to be a woman who had time to do the things that I wanted and to invest in myself in those more up leveled and sophisticated ways. And one of the main things that I thought was just irresistible is, I don't know, you guys put in the comment if you have like your favorite Instagram traveler feeds and stuff. But I would look at certain feeds where these girls were traveling and they had their glass of wine and they had their beautiful views. And my soul was just like, I belong there. My soul was like, that's me. Sis is me. I am sis. And I am going to bring this forth in my life. And I remember seeing people travel to these amazing properties and these amazing places. And I was like, that's what I want for my life, right? That's what I want to do next is I want to travel the world. And so my husband and I spent a good amount of time, about 6 years straight, traveling to Paris, to Rome, to Dubai. We've traveled to Bora Bora, Barcelona. I've done Nice, the Mediterranean coast in Europe. We've done South Africa, Cape Town, Kruger Park, which is the safari. We did elevated experiences there. Um, and I had someone start, and I just want to make sure before I join, you're giving men tips to get women of their dreams. If that's what I read. Help me. Oh, yes. Well, Oscar, you can come on in because you're learning the insight to how a woman, like what these women want, right? So if you're a man watching this, absolutely come on in. You are, getting an insight to what does the woman of your dreams, an elevated woman, a sophisticated woman, how does she think about her life and what are her desires? And as a man, I know for me, my husband absolutely tapped into my desires, and the role that he played in a lot of this was he decided he wanted to be the provider male who was able to bring and usher his wife into these experiences, right? And so my husband was my traveling partner. So he got a chance to see, how my eyes would glisten when I would, when we toured Notre Dame. Notre Dame is in Paris, one of the beautiful churches in Paris. A very, very popular church in Paris. And he was there as my eyes sparkled there, or when we were in the St. Regis in Bora Bora, he got a chance for me to see this like amazing blue ocean for the first time. And as a provider man, that's what he wanted. He wanted this experience where his wife felt free and where she was a pleasant, feminine environment for him to rest. Many men are looking for peace. So come on in, get the insight. Absolutely. But in order to have this as a woman, you need the time. You need to be able to have all of your resources at your own disposal as much as possible. So how did I do this one when it came to time? One of the things that I began to do is I began to make sure that the things that were on my calendar were things that I absolutely enjoyed, right? So there were certain things on my calendar at the time. I had a job with the government, right? I worked for the government as an attorney, and much of my time was dedicated towards what that job wanted for me, right? And while I enjoyed the job, it was starting to become stressful at another level after about 3 years working for that particular entity. And one of the small things that I began to do is I began to like put up healthy containers around my office. So, for instance, I worked a job where sometimes, although we had a secretary and because I'm an attorney, our quarters were locked. So you couldn't get in unless someone actually keyed you in, right? For safety reasons. And so while my clients couldn't get in, there were other individuals in the court that just could come right on in, right? Because our secretaries would be like, oh, this person is an employee of the building. And what would happen is you would get distracted with your time. And so I began to do things such as I would lock my door. Even if I was in my office, I would lock my door as though I wasn't there when I wasn't ready to be addressed or if I wasn't open, right? Another thing that I would do is I would make sure to take my lunch. And unless I was meeting with my coworkers, two of my coworkers and I were very close at the time, unless we were having lunch, I would take lunch off of the property in order to retrain my mind to remember that my time belonged to me. So you guys tell me, like, have you put any containers, have you put any parameters around your time? And is this a quality that you think a very irresistible and a tantalizing woman has, right? And I'll read them as you guys are putting it in. The next thing for me in how I became the woman of my dreams, the first thing I gained control of was my time. The second thing that I gained control of was my appearance, actually, my appearance. And when I say appearance, I mean all of like anything that touches your five senses, like being very grounded. You know, we have five senses physically. I'm not talking about the sixth sense, but our five senses are taste, touch, smell, sight, and hearing, right? So one of the things that I did in order to really up level and become the woman of my dreams, and I'm literally dreaming for my next level now, right? So we'll talk about that next level woman. But I'm not just dreaming, it's in place. But for the woman that I become today, the being the woman of my dreams from yesterday, today, one of the things that I did was I gained control of my appearance being anything that touches my five senses. And for me, that looked like I began to control how I smelled, which I've always been very, very hygienic, number one. But I decided to elevate my scents, right? And so, one of the scents, while we're talking, let's take the interruption. It's kind of flowing in a nice feminine way. But one of my most elevated scents that I love now, and I think the fragrance has become much more popular, but it is MF Rouge 540, right? MF Rouge 540. And I love this scent. I have a few of the MFK scents, MFK Rouge 540. I have a few of the scents in general, but that one is my favorite, and it is one that has become super, super popular. But I realized that the smells that really like stood out on my skin, I spent time testing like florals and all sorts of other types of fragrances. So what's going on with florals? Did I like woods? Did I like musks? And I am actually a musk girl. Like they just smell divinely delicious on me. Certain florals will do it. I'm not a fan of like gardenias or roses in terms of fragrances on my body. I do love rose though for my bath time. So those of you who are into feminine baths, I think rose does very well for your feminine bath time. But for whatever reason, roses did not do well for my skin or my skin chemistry. So let me know if you guys have ever heard of or have ever explored fragrances for your body on that level and getting all of your basic notes together so that you know when you go fragrance shopping what really does well for your tone. Another one for me, I know some women love like citrus tones, oranges, those tangerine fragrances. I tend to do, before I choose a citrus, I'm definitely more of a fresh, kind of like the fresh shower scents. I feel like my skin does better there than it does with citrus scents. So you have to play around with it, but I began to invest in things such as an elevated fragrance system for my body and also my home. Um, and with the home, I guess we can go ahead here. One of my favorite candle makers, and this is like most women. I know a lot of women in general go to Bath and Body Works for their candles. Now, I have my favorite elevated fragrances, which is by Archipelago. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Some of my favorite elevated fragrances are from Archipelago, but because I'm doing a live today that was about my transition, I'm going to also talk to you guys about things that I've kept that are more affordable. Like my MF Rouge, I think it's like $500 for the smallest bottle. So I know that may be outside of some of your budgets if you guys haven't worked in the manifestation area of money yet. But in terms of being able to elevate the fragrance of your home and also the fragrance of your body, you can do that at any budget level, right? And so one of my favorite budget friendly fragrances for my home during the winter, and it's winter time right now, it's the Midnight Snow, and it smells delicious, right? I'm smelling it now. I gotta put it down because I'll continue to smell it. It makes me so happy. I literally love to have this scent going in my home in like the winter time. Another, I like the mahogany teak wood as well. It's a woody flavor. So remember, I was telling you guys about fragrances. Like clearly, I'm really into this stuff, but let me know if I need to move on. Say, Lyndosha, move on, because y'all know I told you I can talk. I'm a lawyer. I got words now. But the mahogany teak wood, I do like woods for certain areas of my home. Like in the wintertime, I'm much more of a woody fragrance type of girl. I don't really like pine, right? But the mahogany teak wood and a few other wood flavors I like. I also like some tobacco flavors. So meaning some candles have a strong tobacco is used to make the scent. So I like some of the tobacco mixed with wood fragrances as well. And that's just kind of on that basic note tone. But that was number 2, her smell, her beauty, how she walks, her personality. Um, that those were the things that came to me. And so whenever you are now trying to take all of this in, mahogany teak wood, it's nice, it's heavy, good for colder seasons. Yes, yes. Hey, hey Tisha girl, I'm so glad you were able to join in. We have to catch up soon. We really do in general. Life and new motherhood has us, but yes, mahogany teak wood. I'm so glad you could jump in. And chime in too, right? So Tisha is one of my oldest friends, you guys, and so she has known me through so many seasons of life, and we're just talking about elevating and growing. I love it when you guys are able to drop in. So after we deal with the fact that this, one of the things that I did in transition into the woman of my dreams is I began to get control of my time. Then I began to get control of my appearance. I would say over the last year, year and a half, and this may have to do with like because I'm a new mom. You guys know I have a 4-month old. I had to begin to get control of my energy. I think that at the end of the day, one of the places that most women, if we could like pin it down to one thing that separates a woman who is truly making progress in her elevation journey and a woman who like continuously gets stuck in these different places, because you guys know this is a judgment free zone. I say that all the time. I don't really care which way you choose or what you manifest in your life. I care about you being a happy woman, right? That's what I care about as a coach. I want you to be happy. But one of the things that I have seen is that we get stuck in this area of energy. The elevated woman is very mindful about what she exposes herself to and what she can actually accommodate in terms of her energy and the life she is actually building. So what does that look like practically, right? So what does that look like practically is right now I'm a new mom. New babies take a lot of energy. Okay, put a 100 in the comments if you have ever, if you are a mom or if you have had to navigate that season of motherhood, maybe you have had to be a caregiver. Babies take a lot of energy. And so in this season of new mom, I am not able to necessarily be on the phone as much as I used to, like on phone calls. Or excuse me, I'm not able to answer text messages as much as I used to. It's actually easier if you call me. You're more than likely to get a response. And the reason why is because energetically, everybody is texting. Energetically, everybody, 100, yes. Energetically, everybody is on social media. It's quick, it's this. So I literally have like 750 unread text messages on my phone. Well, what ends up happening with those unread text messages is I just don't have enough energy to answer the all of the quick ways in which we move now. My energy is more appropriated to the people that can pick up the phone and call, right? So that's an energetic shift that happened in my life once I became a mom. And I had to start managing, where is this energy going to be pulled from? So that is the third area that I would say I've noticed, that women who are able to be irresistible, the women you gravitate to, the women that smell good and feel good and look good, are masters of their energy. Like some of the women in the next level, of where I'm going in business. They are my business mentors and my business friends. Many of them are hitting seven figures in a month in their businesses. So they are, that's 12 million a year. In case y'all are trying to do the math, because the million a month will stop you right in your tracks. Like what? I have another mentor of mine. She's one of my legal mentors. Her mentor, right? Because all of my mentors are also in, what's the word, they have mentors, so everybody has a certain humble uh perception and a humbleness to them because they're under leadership, right? I believe in that. But one of my legal mentors, her mentor is doing $2 million a month, and so that's $24 million a year in her business. So at the end of the day, what I have learned in being in community with women who are operating at these really, really high levels is they're masters of their emotions, they're masters of their energy. They are literally taking it to the next level. So that's area number three. Now, a little bit about my story, and how this connects with me. So, my background is in, like, when it comes to like the law of manifestation, which this is the topic that what I'm talking about when you are giving birth to the woman of your dreams and you're becoming her, like you are becoming her, right? You're like, whoa, I'm really proud of myself. I lost the 20 pounds and got to my dream weight, and I'm keeping it off. Whatever it is that you have sat in your journal, and when you come with me, you're gonna have to get some notes. So I usually have a journal or something to write with, or you'll go back to your journals. But my background is, in a few things. One of the things, I like to call myself a church girl, which I was, right? So you guys know I'm from South Carolina, and I grew up in a family that was very rooted in the church, very rooted in a religious system. And the truth of the matter about a deep Southern church and our religious systems is we really stayed clear of the topic of the law of manifestation. I literally have been in church since, I mean, as long as I can remember. And I have really never heard a pastor, maybe one pastor, and now this because of the internet, I've heard of him, who talks about the law of manifestation, along with it being a very rooted principle with God. What I have traditionally, seen as it relates to the law of manifestation is I have seen it practiced in, circles that are more rooted in spirituality. And for me, I do attract a lot of you guys, especially on Instagram, who believe more in spirituality, numerology. Some of you are of a new age philosophy persuasion, and you know that, it doesn't matter to me what your foundational belief is, because this is a personal growth brand, it's not a religious brand. But I'm always forthcoming with, my beliefs. And, my beliefs is that I am a follower of Christ, right? And what that means to me is I'm a disciple, I'm a student of Christ. I'm not necessarily as tied to the religious organization, although I have a wonderful church that I'm a part of. But I am tied to the person, like the relationship that I have with Christ is very important to me. Well, as a girl who grew up in the church, not hearing anything about the law of manifestation, right? What I now know looking back over my life is that the law of manifestation is literally what I was practically doing to bring forth every version of my life whereby I received my heart's desires, which is what brought you God. That's what this video is about. And so there was a real long time in my story where I never bridged that. Like I never connected those two things. And the reason why is because I kind of felt like in the church, people like kind of judge me a lot. Like I never felt like I always fit in with the church girls, if that makes sense. So true. Yes, yes. I always felt like, even sometimes when I go to church now, I'll show up at church and I have, my up here, I'm not trying to give y'all a peak show, but amen. They a little, I'm breastfeeding, so they're a little blessed up in this area. But I'll go to church. I'm wearing something vibrant, right? I'm wearing earrings. I have green nails. I mean, I don't fit the traditional church girl. I'm gonna bring my Louis Vuitton clutch, or I'm gonna bring my Louis bag or my Fendi bag. Like I typically allow God to showcase himself through me, right? I try not to hide how God has blessed me. Some things I do keep close to the vest, but I try not to hide that because I think that needs to be showcased. Well, it made me feel like sometimes I didn't fit in with church girls, even though I was a church girl. And like the light bulb went off in my life once I started connecting with, honestly, a lot of my friends who are very wealthy, a lot of my friends who are not afraid of money. We can have these open discussions. Once I connected with them, all of them were talking about the law of manifestation, the law of divine compensation, all of these natural laws that come out of the spirituality space. And I would listen, and I love to read. So they recommend a book. I get the book and read it on my Kindle. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not the Bible, right? Literally the Bible. But this is what God did in my life, right? This is how I brought forth a lot of this stuff. And so I began to kind of internally own that bringing forth, that's what manifestation means. It means to bring forth something in the reality. It means to take what's invisible, what's in your heart, your mind, your soul, and to bring it forth in your reality. And everybody is manifesting something. I want you guys to write that in your notes. Honey, put it in your phone. Every single human being is literally manifesting. But every human being is not manifesting their soul's desire, their truest soul's desire. A lot of people are bringing forth a human experience on this earth that belongs to your mama, it belongs to your granddaddy, it belongs to your school, it belongs to the exes that we dated. Why do I say that? When you're living, people program you with various things, right? And when I say program it, I mean they share their thoughts. Right now, I'm sharing my thoughts with you. I'm not necessarily programming you unless you begin to believe what I'm saying. But when you're a kid and you don't have any defenses up, you are just an open sponge. And things were poured into you during that phase of your life that you are manifesting and you don't even know it. So how did this show up in my life, right? I grew up in a state that is very grounded. My background is as an African American woman. My husband, who is a scientist and a doctor, had us do our DNA analysis some years back. So I know that my African ancestors came from Ghana. I'm also Native American and I'm also Caucasian. My blood is 1/3 each of those three races, right? Each of those three backgrounds. And so as I was trying to bring forth things and get to my next level of life, it became extremely relevant that the part of me that was rooted in my African background, coming from the South, the fact that I am partly a descendant of slaves, and I'm, for all intents and purposes, a Black woman in America. My background of poverty, my poverty consciousness robbed me of so many things, right? I literally, when it came to standing up for my income, like you guys know, I'm literally enrolling you guys into my Happy Wife Life 1-day intensive, and also my So True. That's where the living through others vicariously comes into play sometimes. Absolutely, it does. You're living vicariously somebody else's beliefs when you haven't done your inner work, right? And this is inner work, what we're talking about now, resetting these beliefs that came to us so that we can manifest the women, the person that we actually really want to be deep down on the inside of us. So for me, it showed up. I had been so deprogrammed because of my background as an African American woman coming out of the deep South. And not every woman has this story, right? So I'm not saying every Black woman has this story. But for me, I had this story whereby when it came to income tied to work, there was a strong disconnect. I was taught to work, 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 and not consider income, right? Not consider what I'm receiving for my work. As I began to elevate and receive more money, and God just blessed me abundantly, partly because of career, partly just because of serendipity. He wanted to, God winks. Then what ended up happening is I began to hit resistance in what my businesses were earning, what I could ask for. I mean, it came up in so many different ways. I was like, whoa, why is it that when I'm leading my income, when I have to set the price for what I want, I stumble. I stop. There was so much embedded fear that was passed down, I believe, like generationally from women who never spoke up for what their needs were in any area. But for me, it showed up in the area of income. For you, it may show up in your needs with your spouse, your emotional needs with your spouse, your physical providing needs with your spouse. For another woman, it may show up in her body. She's mistreating her body, not necessarily standing up for herself, holding her boundaries around her workouts, doing those type of things, holding her boundaries around healthy food. For another woman, it may show up for you with your children. You completely lose yourself in the name of motherhood, right? But however this programming showed up in your life, a lot of times it was going back to, foundationally what your parents taught you. Number one, that's where you start. You start with your family. Before you go to what your school taught you, before you go to what the people you dated ingrained in you, before you go to your friendships, you start with your family, right? And so it took me about 14 to 16 months to reprogram my mindset around income to be ready to receive at this next level that God is requiring before I can receive what I'm asking God for in my next life. So, one of the big things that I'm manifesting in this next version of myself is I'm manifesting a very beautiful custom mansion, right? And I have been prepping this mansion. It took about 2 years for me to pull it out, think through the layout on paper, all of this other stuff. It's been about another 2 years pulling the team together. And one of my business coaches, she looked at me and she was kind of like, "Well, Lyndosha, why do you think it's taking you so long to bring forth this mansion? People bring forth a mansion in months when they're really ready." And I was like, you know what? I don't know. What is all of this fear around me that's making this thing take so long when I know it's what I want, right? It's almost like this is how I want you to start thinking about your desires. And I know this may be totally like, Lindasha, I ain't never heard this before, right? Because I ain't never heard it from like one or two people in my whole life. But I want you to know that this is the space where you can bring these types of desires and conversations, because my goal is to always expand you and to open you up to be abundant, not to constrict you, not to limit you in what it is that you can or cannot do. I'll let other people handle it. It's enough people doing that. But one of the exercises that I did in this 14-month period to just transition my internal space to be ready to receive on a quicker level income and money so that I could manifest the house. I began to say, God, here's my desire. This is what I want. It's like if you think about God as a um let's think about God, if he's here and he's all loving, he's all good, he's giving you all of this abundant goodness, he's giving you breath, blood flowing through your veins, he's giving you an active body that you can use. You're not sitting in a hospital. If you are in a hospital, you're still breathing, you're still alive, so you got an opportunity to get your health back. He's giving you the world, the trees, all of this stuff. This is a good God, right? He is not a God that hates you or is trying to stop you. He's a good God. Only goodness produces that, right? Now, there are other forces at work that are not good that are trying to stop you, but we ain't talking about that right now. So I want you to think about God. God is sitting and God is like, who can I bless today? Who has a clear pathway for their desires without all this extra stuff? And I had to begin to say, God, I got extra stuff. I'm sending mixed messages to you. I'm sending mixed messages to you in your universe, right? I got to get clear. I had to get clear. And so I got clear and I was like, God, I want my dream mansion. The one that you put in downloaded inside of me, I want to bring that forth. And that's it. Now, instead of saying all of my narratives about this and fear and who are the builders and all of that, now that is a part of my journey. I have gone through that. And those challenges actually do still exist in real life. But right now, what I'm saying is I get to receive my desires. God, I want my dream mansion that you downloaded into me. That's my prayer to God. When I go to the ground, when I'm talking to builders, when I'm talking to realtors, as we're dealing with everyone that's on the financial team, when anyone says something that is not what I've said with God, what God and I have agreed, I just listen and I nod and I say, okay, thank you. And I go back to God and I say, God, I get to manifest my dream mansion. I get to manifest my first dream mansion, my first dream home. This ain't even the last one. God, you can create the builder, the architect. You actually can create the house. Somebody else can create the house, and then you just bring it into my field whereby I see it. And it's like, oh, that's our house. I don't even have to build it from the ground up, right? So instead of asking God how was he gonna do something, I started saying, God, however you want to do it, you can do it. So you guys let me know what you think. You may be writing a lot. I know, I'm sorry if I'm going a mile a minute. That's the lawyer in me. Go ahead, put your questions in the chat if you have any questions. I'm just gonna take a sip of water. So I'm just gonna take a sip of water, and as you guys get your questions, just go ahead and put them in the chat. Let me look at my notes too, because I swear I got off my notes a little bit there. So yes, as you are coaching, as you are literally manifesting this woman whose lifestyle is irresistible, whose wardrobe is irresistible. Like, I'm literally building this woman right now. And so I'm in the process of Lean Six Sigmaing my closet, my wardrobe, my closet, right? And Lean Six Sigma, for those, some of you are in business, let me know if you know what Lean Six Sigma is. In the chats, if you've heard of that, if you've heard of Lean Six Sigma, it is a corporate word. So I don't want to be talking and y'all like, girl, what are you talking about? But either way, Lean Six Sigma is a process it's a process of removing waste. And it's done in, mostly corporations have coined it's an actual process that you can be trained in for corporate. But at the end of the day, it's removing unnecessary waste so that you can keep the profit. So I am Lean Six Sigmaing my closet because I want to have my most irresistible wardrobe. Okay. I want to show up like dressed to the gods, like every time I show up anywhere, whether I'm wearing a jogger outfit because it's a more elevated, comfy, casual day, or whether I am, honey, about to go to Paris for Fashion Week because Fendi has invited me to sit on the front row. I will be there. We're speaking that into existence, right? Louis, Fendi, any of them, call me. Let me know. I'll be there on the front row looking good too, right? So I'm manifesting that. I think the disconnect is actions behind the desire for many of us. Any suggestions on how to combat actions that do not align with our desires? I have heard of it. Yes. So absolutely, that's a great question. So the question was, any suggestions on how to combat actions that don't align with our desires? So when I recognize that my actions are not aligning with my desires, in any area that I've decided I'm going to focus and work on. So, number one, my first advice would be, there are a lot of areas to a woman's life that you can work on. I personally like taking the area that I need to shift the most, the one that's like really kind of on my heart the most, it's like a heavy weight. I like to take that area first and like work on it. Okay. Give me some room. Okay. So I like to take that, decide which area first of your life you want to focus on. You don't have to use that method, but that's how I like to do it. The second thing that I do is, because a lot of you who are attracted to my work believe in God, right? You're God fearing, even if you're not a Christian or you have a different religious faith or you piecemeal in your faith right now, you believe in a higher power. The very second thing that I do is, once I've chosen the area, I invite God into the process of healing that area. So one of the things I want you to remember is, as when I'm in Coach Lyndosha mode, right? When I'm in Coach Lyndosha mode, when your actions are not, if your desire is here but your actions are over here doing something else, there's something that you need to do to heal, right? So that you begin to turn your actions and walk. Some of you walking, some of y'all gonna run, some of you leap, right? I've seen all three in my life, depending on how bad the area is. So some areas I've slow walk. I'm on, amen. We're on the tortoise path. Some areas I've run. I've had a good pace in moving from where my actions were to where my desires were. And some things hurt me so bad, child, I look over here to my desires. So no matter which pace you're going to take, I want you to pray. I want you to literally like hold your hands and talk to God and say, God, I'm ready to heal this area of my life. Can you please bring the teachers, the books, the resources, the time, the energy, whatever I'm missing, and help me heal this part of my life so that I can walk in alignment with X desire. So that's the second thing that I do. I bring God into it, right? Because you are now opening up your heart, because most of you guys believe in a higher power anyway, if you're watching me, you've opened up your heart now to the resources of God, like the resources of the highest power source in the whole wide world, universe, and everything else, galaxy. You've opened up God's resources to come into your human experience and begin to reorder things. The third thing that I do after I've decided the area, after I prayed and invited God, and I do the prayer part like daily. Some of you may have to do it several times a day, depending on how broken, how far away you are from your desire. If you're super far away, you may have to pray more. And be like, God, I'm here again. I'm off. Like, this is where I'm focused, to reset your mind and just get it back in focus, in alignment with what it is that you're desiring. Because life is lifing and it's trying to pull you away, right? So the third thing that I do is I pull out my journal, right? I pull out my journal and I begin to ask myself questions around this area. Very simple questions like, what's going on beneath the surface? Whatever area it is, what's going on beneath the surface? Why? Because for you to shift an area of your life, you're going to have to dig deep. It's not when you feel like, let's say your issue is, girl, I cannot like keep weight off for nothing. I emotionally eat like crazy, right? Let's say that's your issue and you need to go deep. So what you need to ask, instead of saying, "Oh my God, why can't I choose the salad over the potato chips?" That's a surface level question. I need you to ask a deeper level question as your coach. I need you to say, "What's going on beneath the surface?" Well, what's going on beneath the surface with people who emotionally eat? It's not that you don't have the knowledge. It's that there's some part of your feelings. There's something going on in an area of your life where you're finding more pleasure in the food that you're eating, but you're neglecting maybe the pleasure in a happy experience in motherhood. Maybe motherhood is just miserable for you, so you overeating. Your emotions in motherhood send you right to the rice bowl to eat. Or another relationship, it could be a relationship with a parent. It could be a relationship with a spouse. It could be a bad situation with a friend. It could be a bad work environment, right? So now you're getting deeper into emotionally where do you need to set up other boundaries in other areas of your life so that you can give yourself the room to now give space to you having a healthier body. So those would be the first three things that I would say do. One of the things that we do when you set, if you choose to set up a 1 day intensive with me, the 1 day intensives, of course, we do it around the happy wife life. So for women who want to be married within the next year, or you're married and you want to turn your wife life around within the next year, but you are a type of person who's more of a self-studier, go-getter, we'll get together for a day and recreate that plan to help turn your role as the wife, reset your mind and turn that around. If you sign up for my 1 day intensive, then what ends up happening there is we begin to dig deeper personally together, and you're able to now get your clear focus plan. Of course, if you want to work with me longer, which means like 6 months, if you look in an area and you're like, girl, it's in the pits, I need 6 months, then of course you can email me and we talk about the 6 month plan after we create your initial plan. But some of my clients, like, they are go-getters. They're like, girl, I got the plan, I'll call you if I need the 6 months. Some women come to me and they're like, I need the 6 months of individual coaching, where we're laying out that play on a weekly basis, and you have access to me on even more than that through my cell phone. Also, that is if you're a wife. But what we're doing, if you're not ready to be a wife, if that's not your focus, is romantic relationships, but you know you need to up level your self-care, your emotional boundaries. If you know that basically the stuff we were talking about earlier in the video you're struggling with, you don't know nothing about the smells that are activated in your body well, or your beauty, you have no clue about makeup, how to take care of your skin, um, or any of that, then we are able to do a 1 day intensive whereby we're getting your self-care and that management together. And that is called the Get Your Year Together Girl um 1 day intensive. So that's the two ways to work with me one-on-one. I'm also literally January 31st, my courses are launching. And so you'll be able to do the self study through the courses starting January 31st. I will begin actually next week's live. We'll have the link to that. So that'll be a big party experience to release my courses on next week, online courses. And right now there are 6 courses, and 3 of them are like fundamental level courses where you're coming in and restarting your self care and your self growth journey. One of them is around your just self care and your life. One is around dating and mating, and one is around money. The reason why I have 6 courses, one is a basic course and one is an intermediate to elevated course. The reason why I have 6 is because I coach around the 3 main areas of a woman's life, which is her self care. That's your mind, your body, your emotions, your spirit, your relationship with God. That needs to be first on your list, in my opinion. I don't care if you're a wife, a mother, or whatever else. When you don't feel good, nothing good generally comes to you. You're not attracting it. We're talking about the law of manifestation. When you show up and you feel good and you look good and you're experiencing a version of yourself that's, I'm loving the course titles. Yes, thank you. Thank you. You show up to a more polished, with a more polished, happier version of yourself. Girl, things happen all day, all the time on the outside of me. It rarely moves me internally anymore. It takes a lot to trigger me at this point. I have had, I think right now, the things that probably would trigger me the most surround my immediate family. I have had other close family members that, the relationships went south, that triggered me more. But now I think it's more so just everyday management in my home. That, and if I do sense a trigger, like my daughter does something, like she won't stop crying and mommy don't know why, or my husband is having a bad day or something, I generally know how to go to my journal and let that be them, right? And I reset myself to say, how can I support them so long as I have it, right? So, but I don't typically take on the emotional burden of other people's souls because I've been doing so much inner work. But yes, you'll be able to do those self-study courses. If you like to learn in the dark, I got a lot of Nicodemus followers. Y'all like to be on the in the dark with me, like like the way they did Jesus. He did Jesus, like Jesus, I follow you, but I'm gonna be in the dark. So, and I'm fine with my Nicodemus followers. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you know I had to check my lurkers though. I've gotten a lot more lurkers, and I was like getting them together. Y'all got to fall off. We're not doing lurking energy in 2023, right? We are doing show up energy because we are elevating our lives. I mean, ain't nobody gonna live forever. If you don't live your best life now, when are you gonna live it? When you come back as a bird? You know, some of you believe in reincarnation, and I don't knock it, but you don't know if you're going to come back as a human being or not. Even if you believe that, you know, as Christians, of course, we believe we'll spend eternity in heaven. But no matter what, you're not coming back to the earth in terms of it being guaranteed that you're going to be a human. So why would you waste this precious chance to really live a life that when you take your last breath, you're like, baby, I left it all on the court. I played my part. So that's exactly what I'm manifesting there. But yeah, that will be released January 31st. And the live you guys will have access to, and we'll do a whole release party on next Friday for those courses. What I love about the courses, and also what I love about how, you know, the place God has given me in the coaching industry, God has placed me as I feel like a foundational coach, right? If some of y'all follow Mina or so, Sienna is another one that I really love. Sienna Skills, I'm always shouting them out. Um, Sienna focuses a lot on dating. Mina is very expensive. Mina talking about everything from divine masculine, honey, how not to judge nobody anymore, overcoming judgment, all kinds of stuff. Her, of course, is taking your savage self. She's very expansive. My personality is very much so let's 80/20 this, right? Like I'm a huge fan of the 80/20 rule, which if you guys let me know if you've heard of it in the chat. The 80/20 rule is you literally 20% of your efforts yield 80% of your results. It also works where in certain areas 10% of your efforts lead 90% of your results. It's just the idea that the thing that works for you to get what you want is it's small actions, right? Hold on one second. Once you ask yourself these tough questions and answer them, how do we use that info or what's next? So once you do those three questions that I gave to you, how do you use the info? So the way I can tell you how it showed up in my life, and then I can tell you how it's shown up in some of my clients' lives who have coached with me over the past 6 years. So in my life, when I have done the first three questions, it's almost like God opened up this like it's stuff started to unfold, if that makes sense. When I zoned in on what I needed to do, things started to unfold, and God left like these breadcrumbs. He left like these little signs of what I should do next, right? So until I addressed the first three questions and until I got clear on what it was that I wanted, invited a higher power into my experience, and then began to turn my energy away from where it was going into what I got clear about, what I wanted, then I did not receive the next step. Does that make sense? So, meaning that question can only be answered by you when you do the work of the first three. When you commit to the first three, a lot of times the God's divine breadcrumbs is what I think one person calls it, or the signs that God gives you will be the next. So whenever I had to lose weight from law school, right? I got clear about how much weight I wanted to lose. I got clear, number one, that my weight was what I was focusing on during that season. I began to ask God, God, show me what I should do next. Who should I follow? Who am I resonating with? I began to ask those questions like, God, what should I be eating? Like, I love my Popeyes fried chicken. I ain't going to be able to stop it right now immediately. So, how should I, like, what should I do next? Right. When I asked that question, then God kind of gave me random stuff. Sometimes, number one, it's when my personal trainer came into my life, right? Which I randomly started following her on Instagram. I think they sent her to me, like, they suggested someone. So I was like, oh, I really like her. I'm gonna train with her. And it was like this domino effect. From there, she taught me how to eat better. She taught me how to drink my coffee better. So I used to put a ton of sugar in my coffee. She was like, no, don't put a ton of sugar in your coffee. Start transitioning to honey. Use mostly sugar, then a little bit of honey, and then every time diminish it until your taste buds increase. Well, why? Honey is natural, so my body burns honey better, right? So that investment in her, like, literally helped me retrain my diet, which was about a 2-year process for me with the diet. Some people can do it quicker if you were not stress eating like I was. So I've never really been an emotional eater in my whole life until I hit law school. And the emotion I was eating in law school was stress, right? So I lost all of my law school weight with her. During that time, I also found out about other online courses that I took. So I am the type where I love to learn. I think a lot of y'all who follow me, and we didn't hit our 1 hour mark, so we're gonna get ready to go. But a lot of you guys who follow me, you like to learn too. A lot of you are very educated. You have college degrees. Some of you don't. Some of you are younger. Maybe you're in college. Some of you not didn't do college at all, but you learned through the streets, right? However, you got your knowledge, you like to learn. So I would buy online courses. I invested in a nutrition course for the first time about 3 years ago. So it is just always unfolded. And since I've had my baby, right, I'm on another, like, weight loss, not really weight loss. I've lost most of my baby weight because of the things that I learned when I lost my law school weight. My baby weight fell off in 12 or 14 weeks. So I only have, I think now, 6 pounds to lose from my baby weight. I gained 38 and I've lost 32. So, oh, got it. I understand. Yes. So that's how it works. It keeps unfolding, and you pull in the courses, the coaches, the trainers, whatever your area of life is, you pull us in as you need that extra help to be like, what am I missing? Right? When you can't get it on your own, that's when you come to the teams of us who are online and moving in this space, and we are coached. So we're moving to our next level, and we are coming behind and, like, pulling up hands and doing what we need to do here to help the women around us elevate, because a rising tide lifts all boats. So with that being said, just be on the lookout. I'll make sure to pin the one-on-ones here. I'm going to go ahead and pin those now. You can do the get your year together um one-on-one. That's the one-on-one for those of you who are literally like, Lyndosha, I'm not ready to be nobody wife. I need to get myself together. And then for those of you who are either ready to be a wife or are a wife and you are wanting to take your marriage life to that next level of bliss and fun, this is the Happy Wife Life link. And this is for my one-on-one full 1-day intensives. You need to just email me 3 dates at lyndosha@gmail.com. Myself or someone on my staff will literally get back to you on which date works. And if you do it through Zoom, if you do your intensives through Zoom, then you can open up your calendar dates to the weekends. But if you want to fly into Atlanta and have a whole girls' day, like we co-create something, I love those. Like we co-create a day together, surrounding whichever one you want to do, then I would prefer that those be through the week because of my daughter. It's just easier for me when she's in school to do our days during the week. So, all right, you guys, love you. We had our hour girl chat, and I want to hold true to that when I can. And I will see you guys on next Friday. Be on the lookout of the topic. And you're welcome. You're welcome. And then also just let me know what you want to talk about. Send me a DM or comment below. All right, y'all. Bye.